What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Battlefield Project Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Rhoda, and we are the podcast for people who understand that life is a battle and only the strong will thrive. I'm joined by my good friend here, John Krause. I pronounced the last name correct?
You got it, bro.
Beautiful. Awesome. I'm going to introduce in a second, but before I do, I have one favor to ask anyone listening to this episode. If you get any value out of it, please share it with a family member, friend, associate, someone you think might also get some value out of it. The whole purpose of this podcast is to share and shed a light on my guests and let everybody out there that's listening know nobody goes through life untouched. Every single human being on this earth has to fight battles. It might be a temporary battle. It might be a lifelong battle. It might be something that comes and goes, but everyone has battles to fight. The difference between people who are living good, healthy, fun, optimistic, successful lives, those people fight their way through those battles, knowing that when we come out on the other side, we're all the stronger for it. And then there's the other side of that coin, the people who play the victim card and give up and fold. They're the people who are going through life unhappy. So my purpose with this podcast is to let everybody out there know everybody has battles. My guests come on, they share those battles with you. They talk about how they fought their way through them. And my hope is that you gain some inspiration from these stories, and then you go out in life and fight those battles and win those battles so you can have that successful, happy life. So without further ado, a little bit about John here. And you actually have one of the shortest bios ever, so I appreciate that. Sometimes it's like
simple, baby.
Yeah, like 8 paragraphs, and by the time I'm done, I got dry mouth and like, crap, am I like stuttering? John is a devout Christian, happily married for 21 years with 4 children. He is a 3-time leukemia warrior, co-founder of Team John Foundation, which is his 501(c), and founder of Starvox Capital, which provides investor loans. John, man, thanks for being here, brother. I appreciate you.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. No, I saw that you were doing something like this, and I'm like, man, I've had some battles in my day. For sure.
I remember when I was on your podcast, which feels like forever ago. I learned a little bit about your story. So when you reached out and, like, I want to be a guest on the show, like, perfect. I was hoping this guy wanted to be featured, man. So yeah, the floor is yours. Whatever battles you're comfortable sharing with the audience, and then how you fought your way through those battles, I'm excited to hear about it too.
Yeah, man. No, I'm an open book. I think the more people you touch with your story, the more you can inspire them to overcome, difficult situations, which I applaud you for doing this podcast. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I firmly believe that everyone has battles in their life. Everyone has that, the struggles. And I honestly do believe that everybody has the ability to get through it. They just don't know it sometimes.
Yep.
But sometimes when you get a battle, sometimes you don't have a choice but to move through it. It's not one of those things where it's like, well, I'm kind of short on cash or whatever it may be, whatever it is, some of those battles, some battles you just have to face head on. And that's kind of what happened to me back in 2014. Everything was going great. I'd gotten my MBA. I'm educated now, and I'm working with a company that I love, and I'm traveling a little bit, and my family is awesome. We had 3 beautiful babies, and 1 on the way. But as fate would have it, like, I had a doctor appointment where they were checking my, doing like a physical, and my doctor's like, hey, John, just, everything looks good. It was a physical. He's like, you're healthy as a horse. Did an EKG. He's, I was hitting the weights, working out every day. He's like, you're healthy as a horse. He's like, just get your blood tested and see you in 2 years. I'm like, sweet. So I got my blood tested. Of course, you blow that stuff off for a little while. You're like, I'll get it done. He says I'm good. I think a week or so went by, and I'm like, I just have to get this done. So I did it, and lo and behold, I went to work that day, came back home, ate dinner, and sitting with the family, and the phone rings, and I'm like, oh, that's the doctor's office. I'm like, that's weird. It's like 7 p.m. at night. I'm like, this is strange. So picked up the phone, and he's like, hey, it's Dr. So-and-so, we did your blood test, and we need to talk, so we were chatting. He's like, there's some things that popped up in your blood that I don't really like. Your white blood cells are kind of through the roof. Just some things that I don't like. And he's like, have you been experiencing any fatigue and weight loss? And I'm like, well, I'm a dad of 3 kids. I coach a lot of sports. I work out, all the above. Check. But he's like, nah, he's like, it's more than that. He's like, I need you to go to the ER now. And I'm like, now? I'm like, wow. That's pretty rough, like to go. I'm like, can I wait till tomorrow? He's like, no. Yeah. So proceeded to get to the ER and check myself in. He's like, we'll call ahead. I'm like, wow, this is like no joke.
Yeah.
But as anybody else does, they hop on the phone and you're like researching all the things that he asked me, and like I don't know, like 41 different things popped up, and 40 of those things were like whatever, but it was that 41st that I did glance through that kind of sat in my mind, but I blew it off because I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
So they did all these tests, blood tests, all that, and then doctor comes in and in a white coat. And she's like, John, I am so sorry, but I hate to tell you, but you've got leukemia.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, do you know what leukemia is? And I'm telling her, like, yeah, I mean, I've known, it from children's cancers and things like that. She's like, yeah, we believe that you've got acute myeloid leukemia, and it's a very aggressive blood cancer. Wow. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, wow, that was like a blow. So my wife's there, and we're all there. And she's like, we're going to keep you obviously overnight, and we're going to do some testing in the morning just to confirm. But then we'll, the doctor will be in the morning, and we'll go from there. So doctor came in the morning, and we did the bone marrow biopsy, which again is not fun. Drilling into your pelvis. There's no numbing for that, but there's numbing to get there for sure. Yeah. Anyway, that was experience one. But yeah, so got through that portion, talked to the doctor, and he confirmed that that's what it was. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so what are the like chances of cure? Like, everyone wants to know numbers. Like, what are my chances, doc? He said, well, you're young and you're strong and you're healthy. I'd say about 70%. I'm like, okay, well, I'd rather it be 95 or 99, but 70 is better than 3 or 2, right?
Yep.
So I was like, all right, well, what's the treatment? He's like, well, you'll be here for 30 days, admitted, and you're going to undergo 7 straight days of chemotherapy and get this thing knocked out. That's the goal, is to get you into remission, and then we'll go from there. He mentioned a couple other things, but all I heard was, all right, 30 days, get into remission and go. And then that was kind of when my brain just clicked on to like fight mode. Like it was like, all right, this thing isn't going to take me down. I'm like, everybody around me was scared. There was maybe a little bit of fear in my mind, but I honestly didn't believe that I was going to lose this battle. Yeah. But right from the get-go. So I think mindset comes into play right away, is just that athlete mentality where I'm going to win no matter what. This thing, there's no way that this thing's going to beat me. So that's what it was. I mean, the first 7 days, weren't too bad. The chemo wasn't too bad. It was a little easier than I thought it was going to be based on what I saw on the TV and on the movies and all that. And granted, everyone's chemo is different. Yeah, there was it wasn't easy, but I had pictured like me throwing up for like a month straight. And it wasn't like that. It was different. I'd gotten fevers, and those things were really rough, but community rallied around me. My family rallied around me. People were praying like crazy for me. I was praying like crazy. I had a friend of mine reach out to me. He'd gone through some battles in his life. He had an accident where somebody died, and he became, really born again Christian. And he was, he's a religious man. And he said to me, he texted me, he's like, John, he's like, just, thank Jesus, praise Jesus, and tell Jesus that you love him. And I'm like, oh man, that's a really cool text. I'm like, definitely. I'm like, thanks, man. And at that time, I believed in God. I believed in God. I didn't have a relationship with God. I wasn't really practicing anything, but I knew that I knew that there's a calling for me somehow. I'd always felt that tug. So like, I'm in there for about 30 days, under 30 days. And I'm like, these fevers, man, they would keep coming. They'd keep coming and keep coming. And that was like my ticket out. I had to stop having fevers. Everything went fine. Like the chemo did what it was supposed to do. My blood numbers came down. They started coming back up. Like everything was going like absolutely perfectly, like textbook. There was a couple of hiccups in the beginning, which were kind of touch and go and weird. But I didn't see it as that. Like I was just like, I don't feel really good. But on the outside, everyone looking in, they were pretty scared because, I was undergoing a lot of tests, and it was kind of stressful. But I got to the point where I'm like, all right, enough of these, enough of these, these fevers. And I'd gone for a little stretch without them. And all of a sudden, one night I'm like, I started feeling a fever come on. And at that point I was just like, I'm so sick and tired of these fevers. Like, I was just, I had enough. I not given up, but I said, all right, well, clearly it's not on me. I got to do what my friend said. I got to say this prayer, say it out loud and mean it from the heart. And it was just like one of those things, like I didn't think that, I just did it.
Yep.
You know, it was just like, boom. And not longer after I did that, I felt like a warmth come over my body from head to toe, like a slow, like, I can't even describe it. But the fever was that I didn't get, like, I felt the chills legitimately coming on and then they were gone.
Yeah.
Well, at that point in time, I was praising, I was like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God,
Yep.
for basically showing me that the Holy Spirit lives in me. And that was like a really big defining moment for me in my life, you know, knowing that God is real, like having, because not everyone gets that confirmation. And I feel like I was given that confirmation for a greater purpose, to share my story and all that. But yeah, the mindset carried me through, but my faith carried me the rest of the way, which got me to the next stage. And there are many, many stages. I mean, I went through, you know, the next step was, all right, John, you're in remission. Great. But now you have to get a bone marrow transplant. And I'm like, I thought that was kind of like last resort if it was really bad. I didn't think mine was that, like my stage wasn't that bad. But lo and behold, I had to get one. Thankfully, my brother was 100% match.
Awesome.
So I didn't have to hit the registry. Like my brother was 100% match.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is divine.
Is
like,
that
you know
rare?
what I mean? Like,
is that pretty rare?
25% chance. So it's not
pretty
like
rare.
Zero, but it's pretty rare. I mean, thinking about it, you know, like
not
there's a
likely.
lot of, like, there's a lot of 50% matches within your family. Because if you think about it, like their DNA, his DNA has to be 100% mine. He's not a twin of mine. He's my younger brother.
Yeah.
You know, and you think about it, you have mom and dad's genes, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, the likelihood is small, but I'm like, all right, boom. And he's like, yeah, I'll donate and I'll go through that procedure and no problem, which, you know, thankfully he was willing to do that.
Yeah.
So went up to Dana-Farber and again, you know, you read all the research on bone marrow transplants and stem cell transplants and how dangerous they are. And you could die from it, from going through it. And I had the choice. I had the choice whether or not to do it. Like, do you do it? You go down the path? Because there's really like, you know, there's that's one path. The other path is make a decision of just to roll the dice, and if it ever comes back, then address it, right? So we went up to Dana-Farber, my wife and I. We met with the cancer team and in the transplant team, and they just, I had so much confidence leaving there. Like on the way home, I'm like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like and my motto was go big or go home. Like I'm like everything has lined up the exact way that it was supposed to line up.
Yep.
Like this is how I'm supposed to do it. I'm supposed
the next
to
piece of the puzzle. Yep.
Yeah. So I just followed and kept going, and that went fine. Right. I did the transplant. There was, and what happens with a lot of people that get stem cell transplants is they get something called graft versus host disease. And that's basically your new immune system attacking your body, like your liver, your skin, your eyes, like all sorts of horrible things. And I know people that are going through it, and it takes a long time. And sometimes that's what kills people. Yeah. I had none of it. Not even an issue. And I'm just like, I'm praising the Lord, and because I know that like I've got to shout from the rooftops, like, and spread his word, right? From that, and obviously show that, all right, yeah, I'm able to get through, but I wasn't doing it alone, you know? So I was good. I left the hospital in December of 2014. I made it home for Christmas as a goal that I wanted to make it home for, and got to celebrate with my family. And at the time, just so you know, part of my motivating factors, I've got, like I said, I had 3 kids at the time, but my wife, a week before I was diagnosed, we found out she was pregnant with her 4th. So I'm like, it's not happening.
No way I'm leaving this earth. Yeah.
No way. None of it. That wasn't an option at all. So I think that has a lot to do with like making the decision to win has a lot to do with it, you know? So I got through all that, and I was good. I was good for 5-6 years. 5-6 years, smooth sailing, no issues. At that point, I'm like, man, I'm a survivor.
Are you getting checked every year at that point to make sure nothing comes back, or it's just come see us if you feel sick?
No, it was like first, you step slowly. You're like, I was going there every week. Yeah. For a long time, up to Boston from Connecticut every week, then every month, then every couple months, and through time, it finally got, like, after a few years, it got to once a year. Yeah. But yeah, I had, you know, so it kept come around January of January of 2020, I had a checkup. Everything's crystal clear. Everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
COVID hits now, right? And about, what was it, about April, May?
Yep.
Probably in April, I started getting a cough. And I'm like, huh. And it was a cough, and I was helping build my deck in the back around the pool with my dad. And I noticed some things. I'm like, I'm really weak, and like I'm not like a weak guy, but I get like real dizzy when I'm helping him hold wood up, and not like heavy wood, just like 2x6s, you know? So I'm like, something isn't right, but never did I go back to thinking that it was that. I thought maybe the cough, maybe COVID, maybe like I had pneumonia or something like that. Anyway, my wife's like, I'm going to book you an appointment. We're going to get that checked out. I got tested for COVID, nothing. I knew it wasn't COVID, but then I'm like, they found something. They did a CT or an X-ray, and they saw that there was some fluid-filled sacs in my lung. And I'm like, it's got to be pneumonia. So they're like, hey, hit the ER and, you know, just investigate that further. Your O2 saturation is pretty low. So, you know, just make sure that, you know, you get on some good medication and get that cleared up, whatever it is.
Yeah. I
went in there, and this is, again, end of May now of 2020. And freaking, it was like deja vu, except nobody's with me. My brother and my sister, my brother and my brother's girlfriend, who were both paramedics, were with me. Doctor comes in, and they're like, your cancer's relapsed. And I'm like, what? That was a kick to the stomach. Yeah. Because I was celebrating the Lord. I was like, healed, cured, you know. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. And I was pissed off. I was more mad. I'm like, how are you kidding? I was a little bit mad about just everything. I'm like, this can't be happening right now. And they had found that it came back angrier. It was in my lymph nodes. It was all throughout my lymph nodes in my body. And it was in the hospital. I don't know if you're allowed to swear, but it was a shit show in the hospital in Hartford, Connecticut. Like the nurses, because of COVID, it was a mess. It was a nightmare. So my wife called the doctors up at Dana-Farber. They're like, get them up here. I was at St. Francis in Hartford for 2 days, and then I got home and showered and got back up to Boston. And from Boston, you know, as soon as I got to Boston, I was in the same floor where I was treated for my transplant. So it was like a reunion. All the same nurses, everybody was there. Yeah. And I knew I was going to be fine. For some reason, I was just like, all right, I'm in the best hands possible, so I know it's going to be good. I met my new doctor because she's the leukemia doctor. I didn't have a leukemia doctor when I was there initially. It was a transplant doctor. Yeah. So, and she was like the best doctor ever, like just in terms of personality, just caring. And on the paperwork that she said, there's like a paperwork that I had to sign. On the top, it said, you know, reason for this treatment. And there's a little write-in space. And she wrote cure. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, boom. I said, that's done. Right. Yeah, we're in. I said, that's the right attitude. The fact that says that, and it just kind of clicked like that with me. I'm like, all right, let's rock and roll. So let's get cured. Yeah, back at it for another 30 days, got out of there. My brother donated some more cells, and I had to do some sort of a treatment for a while. It was like I got his cells, like kind of they manipulated them to make them a little bit more angry, I guess. And then I was on this trial from 2020. I got out in July, got his cells in July. And then I was 2020 to 2021, just under this. I was getting like a chemo every week, part of a trial. I'm like, okay, you know, this is good. You know, I'm feeling good. I think I may have been playing hockey again. I'm not sure. I forget. Yeah. But I was feeling good, you know, like I was getting back to, you know, slowly getting back to normal. And then one appointment, my doctor, my appointment changed. I was meeting with the PA, or I was meeting with somebody, and then all of a sudden a change in my appointment happened, and my doctor wanted to be there. And I'm like, oh, cool. I love my doctor. You know, he's the best. He's a Yankees fan. I'm a Yankees fan. He's in Boston. We always just had great conversations. And I didn't think anything of it. He gets in the appointment. He's like, you know, we looked at your latest bone marrow biopsy results, and the original cells are in there. And I'm like, okay. He's like, we really think that it's going to come back. It's very, very likely that it's going to come back again. And I'm like, really? Okay. He's like, when you relapse, we found 2 new matches for you in the registry. They're perfect matches for another stem cell transplant. You're still young enough and strong enough to do it. Yeah. I'm like, all right, well, whatever happens, doc, you know, you know, you lead, I follow, you know? So they had found on a PET scan, something lit up on my PET scan in my stomach. biopsied that, and they were going to give me the results. I was actually on a golf course with my buddy, second hole, tee box, and I knew the doc was going to call. I looked, I'm like, okay, well, here's this call to follow up. Let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
He calls, he's like, man, he's like, I hate to tell you this, but it is AML. It tested positive. I'm like, okay. He's like, so, you'll come in next week and we'll get the process started again. I'm like, okay. He's like, are you good? I'm like, of course I am.
Yeah.
I'm like,
about to hit the ball 300 yards straight in center. I'm good.
I'm like, I'm golfing. I'm going to finish this round.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good. Call my wife, had the conversation, same thing. She's like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm like, it's going to be fine. It'll be fine. They already have a match for me. There's bigger things, that are going to come from this. And something that I missed from the relapse, the first relapse to this is where I figured out, and where I thought that, like, I'd always been searching for the why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did this happen again? Is there something more that God needs me to do or wants me to do? And I'm like, there's got to be something bigger or greater that I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not, and I'm missing it. Like, where is it?
Yeah.
So and this is, summer 2020 or fall of 2020. And my wife and I were talking about these T-shirts that we did like a T-shirt fundraiser. A bunch of people wanted Team John T-shirts, like just, that we had done for our tournaments that we did back in 2014, 15, 17. They're like, yeah, and so anyway, my cousin did like this T-shirt fundraiser on one of those websites, and we raised money.
Yep.
So my wife's like, hey, for the next golf tournament, we should do that, buy all the T-shirts there for the volunteers, and then donate the rest to our foundation.
Yeah.
And she said the foundation. As soon as she said the word foundation, I was like, boom. I'm like, babe, I looked at her, I'm like, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
We have to create a 501c3. We have to create something and help people.
Yeah.
And it hit me like a jolt. Like, it was like honestly, like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it. Before, I was afraid to do it. It was too much, too big. But as soon as that hit me, I was like, yep, let's do it. So that happened in between. We created Team John Foundation. And now we help people that fall on sudden crisis, be it from health or from, just the shit hitting the fan, because it happens in everyone's life and they need a hand up. So that all happened. And as soon as that all happened, I'm like, yeah. And then this happened again. And that's why I'm like, it's okay. Yep. Let's get back to it. And the doctor's like, John, man, he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, I haven't come across anybody with your character in all the years that I've been working in this field, being a transplant doctor for 30 years. He's like, you're impressive. I'm like, I'm not doing it to be impressive. This is just me deep down.
How I'm wired. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, that's just, I am a fighter, and I don't give up, and I will never give up, ever. Like, you will never see me just say, yeah, I fought long enough.
It's been a lot. It's too hard. Yeah.
Never. There's some things worth fighting for, but what I'm fighting for is always worth it.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, and it's been a long story, but that's the story. Went to Dana-Farber June of 2021, and we had planned a trip. And this is part of my fighting mentality. We planned a trip that we go every July. We go camping in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm in there for about a week, and things are going well. Cancer, the chemo's hitting right. It's it's awful, by the way. It's probably the worst dose that I've ever gotten in my life. But he warned me. He said it was going to be rough.
Yeah.
And the doctor, I think his assistant or somebody comes in, and she's got the computer up, and I'm like, things have been, my counts have been coming down, which are supposed to, and then they're supposed to come rise up. And when they rise up, I get to get out. When they get to a certain point, my immune is, when I'm no longer neutropenic, I can go. Mm-hmm. So she's like, yeah, based on the calendar where your counts are now, she's like, I don't see you getting out until like I think she said like the 21st or the 16th or something like that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I have a vacation with my family the 4th of July for that week in Maine. So I'm going to be in Maine. I'm like, trust me. I said, I know. Yeah. I know where you see what you're seeing. I said, but it's not going to be that way. Yeah. I said, it's my cells are going to, I said, mark my words. They're going to recover, and I'm going to be going to Maine.
Yeah.
She's like, John, I love it. I love it. Let's shoot for that. I'm like, consider it done.
Yeah.
So my family went, and my wife was like, I don't know if we should go. I'm like, you got to go. We're going. And so she made the decision to go, got the kids up there. She was up there for a couple days, and come that Tuesday, my everything just went through from Monday to Tuesday. It just went boom, boom, like these giant elevations.
Yeah.
And mind you, I have a 27-year-old that donated his cells anonymously. So, I'm a little bit, I'm 47. So I've got a
Yeah.
younger
Got some
brother,
young blood. Yeah.
I got some young blood. So it was operating really well.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So that on that Tuesday, like a week before she said that I'd ever get out, I was like,
Yeah.
they're checking me out. I'm on my way to Maine. So yeah, I say that all to say, like, it's crazy what kind of journeys you go through in life. I mean, you never anticipate something like this. You never
Yeah.
think that. You always think, especially when you're young, you're like, you feel indestructible, and nothing ever is going to take you down, and you don't know how you're going to react and how you're going to operate if something like this happens.
Yeah.
Trust me, like, if you have that fighting spirit, if you have that motivation, you have that drive, you can overcome anything. I'm not anything special.
Yeah.
I know that this is in everybody out there. I know that, like, if presented with a fight, and I've had many people say, there's no way I could do what you've done. I said, yes, you can.
What? Yeah.
You just got to make the decision to do it.
Yeah.
It's a decision. And granted, there's so much that's outside of your right. There's so much, like, I
You
don't
can't
have
control.
medication. Like, I'm not a doctor.
Yep.
But it starts with your mindset.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right mindset going into anything like this or anything tough in life, you're defeated already.
Yeah.
Defeated already. So it's mindset, it's faith. I mean, you got it's on this side. You got,
Yep.
I mean, it's for me, it's my faith is deep and wide, man. I relationship with God is key. I believe that that's a lot of the reason where I'm at right now, or why I'm at the place I'm at right now. And no matter what comes my way, I know that everything is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Whatever it comes. So, but yeah, it starts with mindset, bro. And that's what I find, like, that something that you talk about a lot is mindset, discipline. Like, there's control the controllables. There's only so much you can control. So control that. The rest of it, there's nothing you can do about it.
And that's where the faith in God and, like, something bigger is, like, the icing on that cake. Like, in this world, you got your mindset, you got your own discipline, your own self-control, like what you said, control what you can control, and put 100% of your effort into that, because you have the ability to do that, but also have that awareness, understanding, like, you don't control it all. Like, it's bigger than you. Like, you can only control what you can control, and it's not everything. So beyond that, then you got to, like, the guys like us, people like us, girls like us, there's, to some people, like, that would be unnerving as fuck to be like, I can control what I can control, but I can't control everything. Like, like, then what do I do with what I can't control? Like, there's a piece about that when you really have an understanding and a faith in something bigger than you, that it's like, I'll do everything I can in my human power. Like, I've been given that ability, and I will use that ability to the best of that I can. But I also know that, like, everyone's number gets called. It's out of our control. Like, and do what I can do while I'm here. And when the time comes, whichever, for everybody, at some point it's going to come, like, okay, I get it. Like, that's out of my control, and I'm at peace with that, and I accept that. And I want to use my time while I'm here to motivate people to find that peace, knowing that everybody's time is going to come. Like, everybody's number is going to get called. It's a powerful place to be, dude. It's a very powerful place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I used to, every once in a while, like, growing up and even, like, into adulthood, I'd worry about, like, things that, like, why am I worrying about it? But the Bible says, like, don't waste a day.
Yeah.
Don't waste a day with worrying, like, because it's not going to gain you any time.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I realized is, like, don't worry about things that you don't have control over, because guess what? It'll work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yep.
And you have to have faith in that. That's it.
Dude, I got goosebumps when you were talking towards the beginning of your story, when you were saying how you're, like, healthy, doing your thing, feeling great, go through the physical, good to go, get some blood work. Okay, fine. I'll get my blood work at home, having dinner, and the phone ring. Like, I got goosebumps because that, like, I say to Helen and my wife all the time, like, listen, I literally do my best to live every single day like it could be my last, because you really don't know if it could be your last. And, like, God bless that wasn't, like, the call that was, like, right before your last, like, here you are going stronger than ever, but it could have been. And, like, how quickly you can go from, like, being in the moment, being surrounded by your family, having a dinner just like every other night of your life, expecting, like, I'm going to go to bed tonight, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, it's going to be the same as it was yesterday and the day before, and then 3 weeks later it's going to be the same routine and same level of comfort and happiness that I always get, because that's the way life is. And the phone rings, and it's just like, boom, change, like, boom, challenge, boom, battle. Like, and then what are you going to do with that? Like, that, to me, man, like, I love hearing your story. Like I've known parts of it, and I knew you were a survivor and a fighter and a warrior, but like I've never heard like the entire story laid out like that.
Mm.
I love everything about it because, like you said, man, your mindset has been on point from the very beginning. It was kind of like, okay, like you go into the ER that night, diagnosis confirmed, Roger that. Like, what do we got to do to beat it? Not like I need a couple days to process it. I need weeks to feel bad about this because this isn't fair. Like I get that some people are going to go through those emotions, but the quicker you can just immediately shift to like, okay, I got it. Like that's a fact. Now what do I do to address that fact and overcome that challenge? You win. And again, like you win to the extent that God is going to let you win, whether it's another 3 weeks, another 6 months, another 30 years, whatever that win extension of life is,
Yeah.
you're going to win that period of time because your mind is right. You're going into the battle armed with like the right mentality. And
Yeah.
to me, that's
Yeah.
everything, man.
And something that you said, and I don't want people and the viewers to think that I'm some superhuman, like have no feelings. Like,
No,
dude,
of course not.
there was tear shed. Like when I first got
Yeah.
the first diagnosis, I cried.
Yeah.
I was upset, but like it's about how quickly you can shift from
Yeah.
that to moving forward. Like,
Yeah.
and it's when I relapsed, I cried. I was pissed.
Yeah.
So many emotions hit. Like
I
I was upset.
wanted to ask you that, like
Yeah.
when you've got that first news that because like you went through the battle, you won the battle, you're living large, you're feeling great because hey, I overcame it. I knew I was going to. Life goes on. Here we go. And then you got that like kind of let's call it a punch in the gut, which is like, no, it's back. And you even said when you were telling that story, like you got pissed. Like how long did that like feeling of like fuck, like this isn't fair, like what the like how did this just happen, like I beat it, how long
Yeah.
did that, because it sounds like the first time you were diagnosed it was like obviously sadness and some fear, but like pretty quick to be like, okay, we're going to win, and then you win and now you're hit with it again, and now you're a little bit more pissed about it because it's like I just went through all this and like I got to do this again. How
Yeah.
long did that frustration, pissed off mentality last? Was it pretty quick or was it an
Yeah,
extended?
I mean, so just to give some context to that, like when I first got diagnosed, I had no knowledge.
Yeah.
I had no knowledge what acute myeloid leukemia was. I didn't know much about it. I just knew, it was a blood cancer, and kids, beat it, and
Yep.
and not that it was ever like in my mind like, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk, but I had no
Yeah.
knowledge. I
Yeah.
didn't know. So I went from quickly at that point, like to, all right, well, a 70% chance, clung onto that, fired up, got family, got one on the way,
Yeah.
like I'm going to beat this. You know what I mean? The second time it was like, I had a lot more knowledge,
You knew exactly what
on
it.
like what I was up against. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this sucks. And it honestly took, I don't know. I was in the hospital in Hartford for a couple days, and it was like I said, it was a shit show there. Like the nurses
Yeah.
were everywhere. I was floating from floor to floor, area to area. It was like the doctors wanted to cut me open there. They wanted
Yeah.
to operate on my stomach because they saw an abscess in my stomach. So there were so many emotions going on at that point. Like I was like, whoa, time out. My doctor up in Boston's like, they're not cutting you, John.
Yeah.
They're not cutting you. So like it was crazy. There was so much. My mindset was like, all right, this sucks. I'm pissed. Let me get out of here. Once I found out Dana Farber was like the plan, like where I need to be like now, like then my mind shifted. Like, okay, I got to get there because that's where things will smooth out. Like there'll be some like reasoning about where I was, and I'll get really solid information on the situation.
Yeah.
So once I got there, I remember it distinctly. Like I think it was the day before I started treatment. And yeah, that whole cure thing, when I saw that, I was like, rock on. But in my gut, I still didn't believe it. I was telling myself that I'm going to win.
Yeah.
But in my gut, I knew it. I was like, John, I was like, you're kind of full of shit, like you're putting on this persona that you're going to win, but you have all this knowledge and you know how this could be serious,
Yeah.
But I shit you not, the Sunday night I was there, I woke up that morning, and I don't know if it was, I know it was the Holy Spirit. I woke up that morning like freaking ready to go.
Yeah.
Like start this now. Like the switch was flicked, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
It's now no longer here. It's here.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't just telling people it. I knew it from my heart that it's a done deal. But yeah, it took a minute the second time because there was a lot more knowledge and a lot more, information all over the place.
Understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. But I got there.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. And with the mindset too, what it kind of finish up here about the importance of optimism and like silver lining and like just,
Mm.
it goes to the mentality and like believing you're in control and you're going to control. But there's like some people, and there are people in the world that would hear there's a 70% chance of survival, immediately would go, fuck, there's 30% chance I'm going to die.
Yeah.
There's 30%. I could be one of the three people that are going to die out of 10. And like, and that seeps into their subconscious, their consciousness. It becomes part of the words that they use when they talk about it. And then
Mm-hmm.
you like, I hate to say, but like you wonder why they die, and you're like, but then you wonder why they become that statistic. It's because they attach their identity to that, like that outcome, that possible outcome, and then become that outcome. Whereas like with you, it was like 70%. Weird, I won't share any details, but like part of our outer family is dealing with something now, and like there's X% chance of this and that. And like I immediately hear there's X, and I said to like someone, I was like, if I was told I have a 2% chance of living, I would be like, hell yeah. I'm going to be one of the two people out of 100 that win this battle. Like I would immediately go into that mode because I can't fathom allowing my thought process to be like on the other side of that. Even if it's 1% chance, cool. Like I feel bad for the other 99, but like I'm gonna be the one that lives because like I'm gonna be the strongest motherfucker on the block who just
Yeah.
does not let this thing beat you. The importance of feeling that, like you said though, not just like saying the words like, oh, there's a 2% chance, yeah, I'm gonna win because there's a 2% chance, but not really believing it. Like you got to really embody and like live and breathe that feeling deep inside your heart and soul that you deserve, will earn that right to be that 1 or 2% or 70%. And then hence look where you are. You're part of that 70% as opposed to the 30 that's now up in heaven or floating around in the universe because they didn't believe in that number. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And that's, they throw around numbers too when I was getting my stem cell transplant the first time. But it drove me crazy because they led with the morbidity rate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would you lead with that?
Yeah.
Tell me my
Right.
chances to make it. Don't
Yeah.
tell me my chances not to.
Yeah.
So instantly I was like, all right, so you're saying it's 87% chance to get through this, no problem.
Yep.
And it's just it's medicine though. I mean, you got to take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, dude, I appreciate you letting me on this and sharing my story. Any way that I can inspire others, mindset, somebody going through what I went through, or not, I'm there. That's what it's
Yeah.
about.
I love it, man. And the fact that you started the foundation for it, again, like you said, you're kind of, why am I going through this? Like, even if you hadn't done that and you jump on, let's call it 5 podcasts or 100 podcasts or whatever, and share your story, that's your why. Like, that's your purpose, in my opinion. Like, it can be as small as that, is even if it's one podcast, if it's just this podcast, you went through this whole experience and you only shared this one time on this one podcast, and one person who was just diagnosed with leukemia or some other cancer, some other disease listens to it and hears your story and your perspective and your discipline and mindset and optimism, and it changes their perspective and allows them to fight a battle that they now win because they've been inspired by you. That's your why, man. Like, you're absolutely living your why, living your purpose, and pouring into the world in a positive way, and using what some people might let defeat them to positively impact the world in a major, major way, dude.
Love it, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Where can people connect with you online? Because I'm sure, I don't know what you share online, but I'm sure it's inspiring, and it'd be just a good human being to connect to and to have pour into you. So where can people connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll send you some links if I haven't already. But I'm all over social media on
Okay.
Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok.
Cool.
John Krause. I think it's John.R.Krause on a lot of it. But
Okay. I
yeah, I
think
mean
you
that's
did
the
send
best
me.
place to find me.
Yep. Yeah, I got those links. So I'll put those in the show notes when I upload it to YouTube. That way, if you're listening to this show and you want to connect with him, just go to the description or whatever it's called on YouTube,
Yeah,
and be a bunch of links there to connect with John. And I highly recommend doing it because good man, good message, good vision, just good human being that you will not get anything bad out of. Like, there's some people where I'm like, connect with them. I'm like, like maybe you'll get some good, you get some crap too, but like I don't feel like
yeah.
that's the case at all with you, man. Like, it's people are gonna benefit from knowing who you are and what you're doing. So
Thanks,
thanks for
man.
being on the show, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it.
And like I said at the beginning here, if you watch this episode, and I feel like unfortunately everybody nowadays knows somebody who's dealing with some kind of disease or like hardship like this, like with their health. it's sad, but it just seems to be the reality of the world that we live in, that like everybody has a cousin or a brother or an in-law or somebody that's dealing with stuff like this. Share this show with them, because I think just listening to this for the last, if they listen to this 45-minute episode, if you can listen to this and not walk away filled with optimism and hope and determination, get your head checked, or your heart checked, or check yourself with God or something, because this should absolutely fill you up with some hope and inspiration and optimism, man. So thank you for watching the show, John. Thanks again for being here, everybody, and I will see you on the battlefield.